Hi everyone, this is Batul Abukdir and welcome again. Today we are talking about something again fascinating, how the language we speak actually shape the way we see the world. You might sometimes think of language as just words or grammar rules, but it's way deeper than that. Every language carries a tiny hidden message about what's polite, what's smart, what's beautiful, and even what's right or wrong. So, in today's class, we will explore what's called language ideology. So basically, the beliefs people hold about language and how those beliefs reflect entire worldviews. So by the end of this class, you will see that when people speak differently, they are not just choosing words; they are revealing a whole way of thinking about identity, respect, and reality even itself. Okay, so let's get started with what the language ideology actually means. Okay, so um, when we talk about the language ideology, we are really talking about beliefs, what people think language should sound like, how it should be used, and what it says about the person speaking. So it's not just about grammar or pronunciation, it is about values, identity, and power. So think about it, okay? Let's say mm, if when someone says this accent sounds elegant or the way of speaking sound uneducated, they are not describing the language itself. They are revealing their own social values. So language ideology is like a mirror. It reflects what people admire, what they reject, and who they think belongs in which group. So in another words, every opinion about language is also an opinion about people. Okay, let's make this idea more concrete. What does a language ideology actually look like in real life? Okay, let's say when someone says, for example, speaking English with a British accent sounds smart. Well, they are not just talking about the pronunciation, they are connecting intelligence with a certain social image. Or let's say someone insists, and you should never mix Arabic with and English. That's not a grammar rule. That's a cultural rule. It reflects that the believes that mixing languages is somehow messy or maybe not pure. So the third example we have, real men do not use emojis. So that one is not about words at all. It's about gender expectations hidden inside communication. So every one of these examples shows how the way we talk or what we think sounds right is tied to identity, culture, and even power. Okay, so now we have seen a few examples of how people judge language. Let's zoom out and ask, what do people hold, like why they do hold these beliefs? The answer lies in something much deeper: culture. That's it. So, Um, well, our beliefs about language do not come out of nowhere. They grow out of what our culture teaches us to value. Every society has its own idea of what sounds polite, confident, respectful, or rude. Like those ideas are shaped by the cultural priorities. For example, in some cultures, being direct and clear is a sign of honesty. It means that you respect people enough to say exactly what you think. But in another cultures, being indirect is the polite thing to do. It shows that you care about other people's feelings and social harmony. All right. So when someone says she's too direct or he's beating around the bush. Like they are not just talking about communication style, they are reflecting what their culture values most, either clarity or relationship care. So, language then becomes a kind of cultural mirror. Every word, tune, and a phrase tell us a story about what a community truly cares about. Let's take, for example, English, okay? So, in English speaking cultures, clarity and directness are usually seen as good things. If you are clear, you are honest, efficient, and professional. You respect people's time. But in Japanese and Arabic, being too direct can actually sound impolite or even harsh. So instead, people use softer phrases like inshallah or maybe later. These things, if you sometimes we are rejecting things by saying that we don't want to say I don't want to do that, but we can say hey maybe later. We try to be indirect. As an Arabic speaker, I can confirm that. So not because they do not mean what they say, but because they want to maintain a social harmony. So while English values clarity and individual expression, Japanese and Arabic value respect, kindness, relationships. So in short, every culture makes a choice. Does it prioritize clarity or does it prioritize connection? And that choice shows up every time people open their mouths to speak. So, now let's look at how these beliefs about language can shape identity and even who gets seen as educated or maybe respected. So, well, here's where it gets really interesting. Not all ways of speaking are treated equally. Some are labeled educated, and others just dismissed as slang. But the truth is, that is not about grammar, it's about power. So, for example, in English, we often hear that standard English is the professional way to talk. The same in Arabic. In Arabic, Fusha, which means the standard Arabic, we use the word Fusha, it seems as the pure form, the proper and the pure form to use. But when people switch to their local dialects like Egyptian, Lebanese, Jordanian, these virgins carry warmth, humor, personality. They sound like home. So what happens here? So when we use the standard form in formal setting, let's say job interview, presentation, or an academic talk, we are following the invisible rule that says formal equals respected. Well, it is not that one language variety is better than another, but it is that society gives more power and prestige to one of them. And that's exactly how language ideologies shapes our sense of identity and status. So who sound educated and who doesn't. Okay, so far we have looked at how people believes about a language show who they are. Now let's go deeper because like language doesn't just reflect identity; it actually reflects an entire worldview. Okay. So when we talk about word view, we are talking about something really powerful, the way a community sees truth, relationship, and reality itself. So language doesn't just describe that worldview, it teaches it. All right? Every time we speak, we are showing what our culture believes about respect, family, nature, or even emotion. So let's check these couple of examples. Okay? So in Korean or Japanese, every sentence reminds you of respect. You have to choose your words based on who you are speaking to. That's not a grammar. That's a worldview built on the awareness of others. Okay. In Arabic, um, we see it. I'm an Arabic speaker. I can confirm that. So we see it in expressions like rafa'at rasna. Rafa'at rasna means you lifted, like literally means you lifted our head. That tiny phrase shows how deeply family honor and collective pride are woven into communication. And in many other languages, like we say, you could say rivers, trees, mountains, described as alive. That's a world view where nature is not separate from people; it is um, connected to them. So language is never just words; it's a daily practice of how culture understands life itself. Okay, so if language reflects a community worldview, then some words are like tiny culture secrets. They reveal what really matters to people. Okay, so every language has words that simply you do not translate. Okay, so not because the other languages are missing vocabulary, but because these words carry whole system of values, emotion, and priorities. So let's say this example. Let's check this examples. Okay, so for example, Arabic abe means literally shame, but it's more than that. It is not a personal shame, it is connected to the family honor and social duty. All right, so it reminds us that in many Arab cultures, what you do doesn't just reflect you, it reflects your family. So responsibility comes before individual freedom. Okay, and we have another example from Japanese. I can't pronounce the word, but this word mean it's like a beautiful word that describes gentle dependence, that comfort of relying on someone who loves you. Okay, so it shows how interdependence, not independence, is natural and valued. Okay, and we have another example in German as well. This word means something like coziness, warmth, and belonging all at once. Think of being surrounded by people you trust in a space that feels safe and kind. Okay, and finally we have English. So the word privacy highlights a very different value. So this word privacy is okay, it's always like it's you can find it in another language, but here it means something way different. So it highlights a very different value: the right to be alone, to have boundaries, and to protect personal spaces. Okay, personal spaces for of others. Okay, so each of these words open a little worldview into its culture heart, showing that what is values most: honor, harmony, independence, etc. So that's why untranslatable words are not a problem. They are a gift. They remind us that every language carries a worldview inside it. Okay? You might be thinking, okay, worldviews sound big and abstract, but actually they show up in the tiniest everyday moments. So let's look how we speak those worldview without even realizing that. Okay, so let's say for greetings. So in English we say how are you. The focus is on the individual. All right, in Arabic we always, when we meet each other, we say how's your family, showing that the self is always connected to others. So like I'm asking about how you're doing and your family, so I'm asking your family because like they are connected to others, like how the self, like the self is always connected to others. Okay, and we have in Zulu, people create each other by saying this word, which is I can't pronounce. Literally, it means I see you. It's not just like hello. It is recognition. It's like saying I acknowledge your presence as a person. literally. Okay, and we have also in Japanese the word this word can mean sorry, thank you, or excuse me. Okay, so that tells us that Japanese communication values humility and social harmony. It's not about guilt, it's about respect. Okay, so also in English, we separate those meanings. I'm sorry I was late. It's focused on the individual's action and responsibility. Okay, so compliments in Arabic, people might say mashallah, mashallah instead of beautiful because they want to protect the person from envy, from the evil eye. Okay, so this is a very known word in Arabic countries. And in many Western cultures, direct compliments are common. They show friendliness and confidence. So if you think about it, even small phrases, a hello, thank you, compliment quietly carry a whole philosophy behind them. They teach us that they teach us how to see others, how to express emotion, and how to keep relationships balanced. Everyday emotions are not random; they are like they teach us and how every culture defines kindness, respect, and connection. All right. So far, we have seen how language reflects culture and emotion, but there's one more layer we cannot ignore, which is the power. So language doesn't just describe the world; it shapes who gets to be heard. And okay, so language is never neutral. So every accent, every word choice, every grammar rules carries power. When people judge the way others speak, they are not just judging language; they are reflecting history, politics, and inequality. So let's start with what linguists call standard language ideology. Okay. Uh, well, that's the belief that there is one correct, pure version of language, the standard English, or if we're talking about Arabic, Fusha Arabic. Arabic. So here's the truth: the standard form is not more logical or beautiful. It's just the variety that people in power decided to call correct. That's it. So in reality, dialects are not broken versions of language. They are living creative systems that carry humor, warmth, identity. So when someone says, "Oh, that's just a slang," or what they really mean is like, that's not the language of power. They could say that about your dialect. And and actually then we have what we called we have linguistic imperialism. That's when dominant language like English spreads so widely that it starts shaping how people think about success or intelligence. So the English worldview often values things like efficiency, speed, directness, and the famous, uh, time is money idea. Yeah, but when English becomes the global standard for business, science, education, other languages start to lose space, prestige, and or even survival. So this isn't about just communication; it's about cultural dominance. So understanding that helps us to see why language is more than a tool; it's a mirror of the social power. Okay, so we have looked about how language connects to culture and power, but what happens when you live in two languages and in a way two words? Okay, so people who speak more than one language often say something really interesting. Like they do not just translate, they transform. Okay, you have probably heard someone say, I feel like a slightly different person when I speak English versus Arabic or Spanish. And that's not just like, it's not imagination, it's real. Okay, each language carries its own rhythm, emotion, worldview. So when bilinguals switch languages, they also switch the tiny cultural rules inside them. For example, in Arabic, people often feel more formal, polite, respectful, especially with elders or teachers. But in English, the same person might feel more casual, confident, and more and like even direct. So in Spanish as well, speech is full with warmth. Um, they have words that make it more affectionate words like that make it emotional and expressive. So in English, that warmth get dialed down. It is more straightforward and less, let's say, sentimental, maybe. So, and we have also in Japanese, politeness is built right into the grammar. You cannot speak without um, signaling respect. So when Japanese speakers shift into English, they often feel they feel freer, bolder, maybe even louder. So, like, what's amazing is that this doesn't mean bilingual have two personalities. It means they have two lenses. All right? So each language activates a different way of being, a different rhythm of thought and emotion. So yes, it's completely true when people say, I feel like a slightly different person in each language, because in a way you really are. So after everything we have explored from language and culture and identity and power, let's sum up with the big takeaway. All right. So, if there is one thing I want you to remember from this class, it is that language, it's never just about words, it's about beliefs. Okay, and those beliefs shape how we see people, how we show respect, and how we understand the world. When we talk about language ideology, we mean the beliefs people hold about what counts as good, beautiful, or proper language. When we talk about worldview, we are talking about that we're talking about that shared cultural lens, the mental map that tells us what's normal, polite, or valuable. And together, those two things shape almost everything about communication: how we express identity, how we show respect, and even who gets to have the power in society. So next time you notice next time you notice how someone speaks an accent, phrase, or even a little expression, do not just hear the words, try to hear the word view behind them, right? Because when we understand how people use language, we do not understand their grammar, we understand their word. And thank you.